Yeah, hello.
We wanted to start here with the tax situation. So many foreigners are trying to get out of the West. They're trying to get out of Europe to escape the high taxes there. And also in North America, of course, I mean, the tax rates have just gone up and up and up and up and up. And so we want to talk about the tax situation in Paraguay and how it compares to different Western countries. So you can kind of see for yourself whether it makes sense to move to Paraguay or not. Now, Jesse, do you want to explain the tax situation in Paraguay? Let's say I'm a foreigner, or let's say one of our people listening here, our audience, they're Europeans, they're Americans, Canadians, and they would like to settle down in Paraguay, and they're thinking maybe about incorporating a business, maybe finding a different way to make money. So what do they need to know about the tax situation in Paraguay?
As a Paraguayan, for example, if I have income inside of Paraguay, I'm not saying that if I live abroad and I have an income in Paraguay, every income you have inside of Paraguay, services, or if you sell products in Paraguay, you should pay 10%. I mean, but first you have to win or to earn around $44,000 yearly. So you need to, just in that case, you need to pay the 10% to the Paraguayan government. But for example, if you decide to come to Paraguay and live here, but you have your earnings in outside of Paraguay, you have no need to give your taxes or your income to the Paraguayan government. So just if you live abroad and you have businesses inside of Paraguay, you need to pay the 10%. But legally, if you are, for example, digital nomad earning outside of Paraguay, you have no need, or you legally you don't have to pay anything to the Paraguayan government. Of course, if, for example, if you want to set your taxation in Paraguay, your tax residency, it's the same law. It's everything applies the same. If you don't have earnings inside of Paraguay, you don't have to pay anything. It's quite simple. Mhm.
It's really good. And if we compare this to certain European countries, I
Mhm.
mean, the most tax-friendly country in the European Union, that's actually a country, not some jurisdiction or microstate, is probably Bulgaria. Bulgaria is part of the European Union. It is not part of Schengen yet. It was not approved into Schengen this year because of some countries not wanting Bulgaria to join. But anyway, Bulgaria's tax system works kind of similar to Paraguay's tax system in some ways. If you become a resident of Bulgaria, then any income generated from within the borders of Bulgaria would be taxed at 10%, right? And the same is also true for corporate profits. Let's say your company made $1 million in profit during a given tax year, and that money remained in the company's bank account. So retained earnings, retained profit, then you would have to pay a 10% corporate tax rate on that income that you earned, that the company earned. That's interesting. But there is a key factor here that makes Paraguay a lot more interesting. And that key factor is, of course, that Paraguay applies a territorial tax system, meaning any income generated from outside the borders of Paraguay is not taxed. Unlike Bulgaria. Bulgaria taxes your local income and also your overseas income. So there's really no escaping if you're a legal tax resident in Bulgaria and want to play by the rules. But technically, that would be the best option. And so, I mean, that's the best option you would have in Europe. And Bulgaria is certainly a great place to live for an entrepreneur who wants to save money, wants to pay little in taxes. So definitely a good option for that. Now, Jesse, if you want to tell us a little bit more about like how people could get started with going to Paraguay and taking advantage of this special tax system that exists there, like are there any other tips you would like to share?
Yeah, actually, I asked to that ChatGPT the a list to make a list for me for to see the highest income taxes rates all around the world, and I also see that Bolivia has 30%, and also Bulgaria have, like you said, like you mentioned, like 10% likely to Paraguay. But for example, if you come to Paraguay and For example, I, as a Paraguayan, I don't have any income that is coming from Paraguay. So as a Paraguayan who has the taxes, the DNI tax for Paraguayan, I don't have to pay anything actually to the government. For example, if you are coming from another country and you want to just stop paying taxes in your country and you become a resident in Paraguay, it's quite easy just to or start paying taxes to the Paraguayan government if you have some business here, some legal and right business here in Paraguay. It's quite easy, all the processes, and also it's a cheap process that you can start doing it. So it's really easy. You in 5 days, actually, if you have an accountant here, it's really fast and easy to set your taxation here in Paraguay. For example, the World Bank, for example, they are saying that if you are inside of a country, or I mean, the recommendation for each country that has less than 50% of taxation to their citizens, their recommendation, their advice is to make it higher, because what they say is that many countries are still struggling to collect sufficient revenues to finance their own development. And for example, in a time here in Paraguay, you had like a big debate about if it's good or not to make the taxation higher, or if the citizens are ready or they have the level of life where they can really pay more than 10% of the taxes. Of course, Paraguayan protests and they on social media were really active, saying that it's not possible to make it higher than 10%, because this is the fair amount of tax that Paraguayans are willing to pay. For example, if you make any type of purchases, you are actually paying a small amount of taxation. So, for example, during COVID, and if you wanted to rent a local for a business, you in that time you just needed to pay like 5% because of the COVID situation. So the government tried to help at that time to the local companies, so they are not so having a lot of struggles trying to keep their businesses alive. So I think that was really a good movement of the Paraguayan government to try to save a bit of the economy of the local businesses. That's quite
Right.
interesting. I don't know if other countries in Europe did the same.
Very good point that you made here. And it's always important to see what other countries do in terms of taxes, like how much they tax their citizens. And the European Union, no question that the European Union offers a great quality of life. In Europe, you have so much diversity. And so a lot of people can really justify paying a lot of taxes in Europe, whereas people in the US, they're like, oh, I can't really justify paying high taxes in the US because the quality of life in the US isn't that great. But still, there is value there. However, if we take a look in Europe, certain European countries, and well, they tax, what kind of taxes they charge. I mean, a country like Austria taxes you up to 55% of your taxable income, your net income. I mean, that's a staggering amount. You're giving up more than 50% of your income in taxes to the government. It's tremendous. Also, countries like Denmark, Estonia, France, Portugal, Spain, like very high tax rates. It's incredible how much money you can save by having your tax residency in Paraguay. And that does not require you to live in Paraguay full time, permanently. No, you can live there for a couple months a year. You get your legal tax residency in Paraguay, and that's how you can take advantage of the tax system and still spend time in other countries as well. So you have a really nicely balanced life. Subscribe now and turn on alerts to never miss any of my future nomadism, dating, and business advice videos. Thank you for watching.